take time to meditate on your child's name. And make sure that when you give your child a name, it captures the time that you're in, it captures the feeling, and hope more than anything, it gives a projection of what you hope for your child.
Okay.
I think what that does to you as a parent, even when you call the child, you'll remember that I gave this child this name, Tupac, because it was in 1995. Tupac was hot. Tupac was a revolutionary. He was a rebel. West Side, thug life.
Yeah.
But he also represented consciousness, black consciousness, leadership, etc. So I named you Tupac, so that when the child hears their name, they fully understand what it means. And even when you call them, you're like, your name is almost a reference in history to something. And it's also a premonition of, I would like for you to be a leader, a speaker, whatever the case may be. I do not know what inspired my mother to stumble upon the name Penwell.
So it came from your mother.
It's my mother's name. I didn't create this. It's not a rap name.
Yeah.
It's not
No, I
50
thought maybe it was
Cent.
your dad.
No, it's from my
Yeah.
mother. My mother gave me both my names, Penwell and Ulungelo.
Yeah.
Ulungelo meaning a right, of which when I was born in 1986, black people still didn't have rights, which we have today. Nakona, they're still limited. So she tells me that she found the name in the Bible encyclopedia. My mom is not even very religious. Sorry, she's not a staunch Christian.
Yeah.
I can only assume that this name is something that she stumbled upon in the universe. Some names, maybe when you come across them, you don't know why,
Yeah.
and they just work.
Yeah.
So Penuel is from Genesis. It's a place where Jacob wrestled an angel. For people that are theologians or who are biblical scholars,
Yeah.
Jacob wrestled with an angel, and after wrestling with the angel, said, "I have seen the face of God," and that became Penuel, Penuel. Sometimes it's spelled with an I instead of a U. Peniel. And it became that area, the name of that area, which is near a river, in that space up north. So Penuel means essentially the face of God, where Jacob had wrestled an angel. It is from Hebrew, which is more Jewish. Jewish people learn Hebrew.
Yeah.
And that became my name. Very weird name. People ask me, how do you pronounce your name? Penuel. I'm like, hey, I also don't know. But what I prefer is Penwill. Penwill.
Okay.
I prefer that pronunciation. It's just a preference. But you
Yeah.
can call me Penuel,
Yeah.
Penwell. It's fine. But that's where my name comes from. And I guess in the future, that would become the basis now for what would become my belief system, which is Penuelism. And for Christians, Jewish people, they would be like, but this is from Hebrew,
Yeah.
Penuel, and this is from the Bible. So there's almost some flow of a graduation from Judaism, Christianity, and now we've got Penuelism, named after this black boy from South Africa, which was colonized by the British.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man, this is really. I appreciate you like giving really like a deep context into
Yeah.
the name, because I watched also your episode with Amlak.
Yeah. Abba.
Yeah, well, his idea of not having a name for like the first 10 days of his life.
Yeah.
I think it's a very weird kind of thing when you hear it for the very first time, but when you think about it, actually, maybe that's how it should be, so
Yeah.
that it can give parents enough time to decide who are we going to name this person, and also why, you know, because you look at, you know, a lot of names really don't resonate with how people like how individuals are living their lives.
Correct.
You know. But yeah, I think we can begin. So we're gonna touch on chapter 1 of the Penuelism Principles.
The most important chapter.
Yeah, and chapter 12.
Yeah.
So chapter 1 is Own Your Mind, and then chapter 12 is talking about sex.
Hey, talk about what?
Sex, relationships, and
eh.
dating. Chapter 8, we're going to talk about education. Chapter 24, we're going to talk about trauma. And chapter 16, you say money is not real. You have to really explain that to me. Nkululeko yesterday, Nkululeko from Lifestyle Cafe next door from Protea Glen was like, can you ask this guy what is his idea of money? So we're
Yeah.
going to talk about that. And then lastly, chapter 21, if we still have time, we have to talk about owning recycled goods. second-hand
Yeah.
purchasing. So let's start with owning your mind. What do you mean when you say owning your mind, and what is a mind?
Can I go back to the names first?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I spoke about meditating, and that's meant to happen during pregnancy. The mom and the dad, by the way.
They need to meditate.
It's my suggestion
Okay.
on the name of
Oh,
the child.
okay, yes.
Yeah. In a situation where for whatever reason you don't, and then the child is born, maybe you first want to see the child.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't know what the gender was going to be until the child was born.
Yes.
You want to see if this child is light-skinned, dark-skinned, because some people are named after their texture. You want to see if this child has a lot of hair. You want to see if they look like their father, like their mom. And you want to give them maybe that time to give you some type of clue on this is who I am. Maybe the child cries a lot. Maybe the child is quiet. Tulani, Utule, do, whatever the name is, Utulile. So that really works. One of the other things that I think is really dope and we've lost, or that we should introduce or reintroduce, is the idea of names that morph over time. It should not be that you become imprisoned by a name at birth. My dad named me Mandla, and now everywhere I go, mina Mandla. I'd like to think the name that your parent gave you is an expression of themselves and the environment at the time.
Yeah.
As you grow up without becoming like a hip-hop star, you can give your name a nickname, DJ Sboo,
Okay.
Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne. You can give yourself like a rap name, but you almost want to encourage children to be like, as you're traveling through life, be self-aware. See who and what you are so that you can also name yourself. My father calls me this, but my friends at school call me this. But when I introduce myself to people, because I want to create a perception of something,
Yeah.
I tell them, hi, I'm Rockefeller. You are who? I'm Rockefeller. The wealthy, that's me. Why? Because my aim is to become wealthy as well in whatever. But my dad named me Mandla. My friends call me Uspigiri because I once got stabbed by a nail or whatever. And you should be allowed throughout life because that's where nicknames come from. And people have nicknames that are given by people.
Yeah.
But you should also, even at the age of 18, I know in America, some black Americans, when they go through Africanization, they go through this process of removing their old name, like Dr. Umar Johnson becomes Dr. Umar Ifatunde. Cassius Clay becomes Muhammad Ali when he converts to Islam, as an example. So you should also say, I'm at a point now where I know what my mother and father named me. I am now naming myself. And you go through a process of, even if it's changing your birth certificate or your ID,
Yeah.
this is now the name I'm naming myself. I'm either removing my parents' names or I'm adding this one, where I want to now be known as this moving forward.
Wow.
And in that way, your name means something to your parents, your friends, your family, and to yourself. And you introduce yourself as Penuel the Black Pen, which is not what my parents named me, but it means something to me.
Okay.
And someone else can call themselves whatever. I don't know if Molf is on your ID.
No, Molf is actually an abbreviation for my second name, which is Mulife.
Mulife. So that's you. You're like, I want to be Molf.
Yeah.
Call me Molf. That's the name. Don't call me Kaffir. Don't call me nigger. Call me Molf. That's what I want to be called. If you call me, hey, you black guy, hey, Elvis, don't call me Elvis. Call me Molf.
Yeah.
That becomes something that you picked yourself and it carries so much more weight.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's on names.
No, that's deep, man. Because when you speak about names and nicknames, you think about it in different spaces. People will call you differently.
Correct.
You know, and Elvis Mulifi Molf. Elvis is my first name
Yeah.
according to my ID. Mulifi is my second name, and as I was growing up, I didn't use Elvis.
Okay.
I was using Mulifi. But also, my peers were calling me Molf. You know, because all the Mulife guys, it's Molf, you know,
Sure.
where I come from. So now, when I got to university, then when I was writing my matric, then they started saying this whole thing of you using your second name, because I was always writing my second name.
Sure.
And I was using it, and it was okay. up until I reached matric, and they were
Sure.
like, no, you have to use your first name.
Who said that?
I think
Teachers?
yeah, obviously school,
Okay.
management.
Okay.
I think for the exam number, whatever,
Sure.
it has to be like according to the birth certificate or the ID. So then, okay, I adapted that year. I adapted my first name, but I've never really adapted it like that. Then when I got to varsity, now I've adapted Elvis. Now I'm Elvis, But now I go back home and I visit with a friend, and he's right next to me. He's like, Elvis. The other guy's like, who's Elvis? So then Elvis Mulifimolf is like, okay, cool. Whatever name you want to call me
I'm
between those
acknowledging
three.
all of them.
Yeah, between those three. But again, I think names for me are like, they're like branding.
Correct.
It's not your identity, but it's part of your identity. So I don't really limit myself with that, but I understand, that it's part of that. So I acknowledge what you are saying.
Do you know if you were named after Elvis Presley? You don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. Do you know Elvis Presley?
Yes.
Arguably the greatest pop star of all time.
Yeah, I've watched his movie, his
Yeah.
documentary,
Yeah.
and I was just looking at him and I was like, okay, did these people name me after this person? Like, if they knew how this Elvis was reckless, man, very reckless.
But the music was good.
Music 100%.
Yeah.
Even though other people can argue that he was stealing music from black people,
Sure. Sure.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I love it. I think it's okay. It's an okay name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love all my names.
All right.
Yeah.
No, thank you, Elvis.
Yeah.
Molf.
What is a mind?
Arguably the greatest movie ever made is The Matrix by the Wachowskis.
You think so?
I believe so.
Okay.
The Matrix has got a lot of metaphoric meanings.